Hello everyone, my name is Vinay Bharadwaj and you're watching Mind Check, Conversations with Anna Chandy. Anna, another episode, another topic that we're going to discuss. Today, wanted to understand from you on limiting beliefs. Let me give you an instance and help me understand this better. There is a task in front of me and I always have this fear in me, whether can I do that? Will I be able to do that? Do I have it in me to actually do that? Why do these questions come in mind?
Well, the questions come in your mind because in your inner sense, there is a belief about your capability which is very rigid. And however small the task may be, the capability takes over the direction of whether you're going to feel good to do it or even feel capable of doing it. And that is what happens when we have beliefs that are very limiting.
But then, like, for example, those questions are very natural to occur. But if my mind is healthy, my mind answers those questions and say, it's okay, Vinay, you can do it. This is possible. Go ahead and do it. But there are instances where I get scared and I don't even go attempt to do it. I shell myself in doing it. What is that? Why is that happening?
See, first we must understand where these beliefs come from. Most of the beliefs that any of us hold, we have absorbed it from our parents, other significant adults in our life, our culture,
society,
our religion, and that is what makes up our own belief system. Most of us have many beliefs that we haven't examined or explored in our current contextual reality. And therefore, when we've not examined it, we automatically believe that belief is a guide. It's not a guide because it may not work appropriate for us. For example, let's look at a simple belief as what you said, that there's a task. Okay? It depends on what the task is and what the belief is. My father may have felt that a particular task he's not capable of. For example, just sitting here, you and I sitting here. I come from a family where media was only meant for a certain group of people.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So, till about last year, till I came into the media frame, and that is because of the foundation, I also had that belief that, you know,
it's not meant for you.
It's not only is it not meant for me, how will I ever sit in front of a camera? The first time that I went on camera was on March 21st when I came live with Deepika.
Correct.
The night before, I was restless and there were so many thoughts that came to my head. What will people say? Will I be able to talk? Will I be able to show that I'm capable? So these are all because of an earlier belief that was given to me that media is meant only for a certain group of people. These thoughts had taken over my head. So similarly, now I know that no, media is not meant just only for a certain group of people. For example, it's not just meant for the TV people or for film fraternity. We use media in multiple ways.
True.
And therefore I have to do what I need to do to carry out my own vision. If I wanted to carry out my vision and I said, no, I'm incapable of this, then it would have become a limiting belief.
That's when you limit your own capability.
Absolutely.
But how easy or how difficult it is for a common man to overcome that and believe in oneself?
It's not at all easy. In fact, it's a lot of self-talk, a lot of reflection, a lot of assurance, and it's a lot of work. Somebody like me who is active now on social media, there are times that I wonder, am I promoting myself? Am I boasting? And then when I take 2 steps back, I recognize, no, I need to be active on social media to achieve my vision, to achieve my goals. So there are some things that I need to also deal with. For example, maybe there still is a group of people who think I'm boasting or I'm promoting myself.
But that's you doing it for a purpose.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how much does risk-taking play a role in self-belief? There are people who are aggressive risk takers. They'll be like, I don't care, I will go and try it, I will go and do it, let's see what happens. And there are others who are very careful and they don't want to get into anything new. So does this also relate to the limiting self-beliefs?
Absolutely. And the people who take risks are people who, again, as I said, feel a little more adequate, and therefore they feel more adequate to face society at large and face the consequences if things don't work out. So a limiting belief also disables a person from achieving what they set out to do.
And does failure play a prominent role in limiting self-belief? Is it the fear of failure sometimes hold us back?
No, I don't think it's a fear of failure. I think it's because many of our beliefs we have really not examined. We've just almost chewed it up whole, what has been given, you know.
We just blindly take it in.
Absolutely. Let's look at us like society beliefs. We have, you know, society puts upon us certain beliefs, and that's how prejudices come. We believe a certain denomination of people, a certain group of people are not okay. And somewhere, because I believe they are not okay, and maybe I believe that they are aggressive, I talk about this in my home, then my children believe that this particular certain group of people are aggressive. And then when they engage with them, they are already fearful because they believe they are aggressive. The reality is that everybody in every group is not the same. There's a lot of generalization.
Correct.
So what limiting beliefs do when they passed on from family to family, that is how we build prejudices.
And in your experience, Anna, if you can recollect a case that you had handled where the person had extremely limiting belief, and over the period of time the person has overcome that. Any example that you can infer?
So let me tell you about a young lady, married, and she has seen, whose marriage has she seen? Her father's and mother's marriage. Her father was had a regular corporate job, which is what, a 9-to-5 job, and you have regular salary. And then they got her married to an entrepreneur, and he came from a completely different family. She came from a nuclear family, father, mother and one single child. He comes from a family, father, mother, brothers and father's brothers, they're all in a business
big family,
entrepreneurial family. In entrepreneurship, finance is not steady. There are ups, there are downs. She couldn't deal with it, and she found it very difficult. She could also not deal that this time, the available time of her husband was not just meant for her, it was meant for many other families. And therefore, because of that, that was her belief. There was a lot of issues in the marriage where she just believed he was not available for her. His issue was that whatever time I have, I give. Whatever I do, she's complaining it's not enough, and there was a complete clash. Then when we started understanding where is this coming from, she was able to realize that her belief was that every evening, just like her father, when he came home from work, he would spend time with his wife. Now her husband is an entrepreneur. He comes home in the evening, he's preoccupied in his head with some failing business or building a business, and therefore while he gave her the time, he didn't give her the kind of time
that her father used to give.
Her father used to give her mother. So there were huge issues till she recognized that the very essence of time itself is different between the two. And she was able to work through that, saying it's going to be very different when you marry an entrepreneur or a person who.
She has to realize that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very valid point, because a lot of people seeing this actually go through this.
Yeah.
Go through this particular situation.
Currently a lot of issues in our Indian context, say marriages, is another belief.
Yeah.
For example, the number of working women going out. So when they work, they come back, they are tired. They don't want to do many of the domestic jobs, which is expected of them.
Yeah.
And they can't understand. So the belief itself has to change.
And also, the guys believe that my mother used to do that, so I expect my wife to do that.
Absolutely.
That's also a limiting belief.
Yeah.
And another thing that I've always seen is that if somebody has had a bad relationship, if a guy is cheated on a girl or a girl is cheated on a guy, the limiting belief is that all men are same, all women are same. So how can one overcome that?
See, that very often most of us just generalize. Now, a man cheating on a wife or a woman cheating on a husband, from a moralistic perspective, it is cheating. From a psychological perspective, some need is not being met in that particular relationship. So, in my context, when I'm talking from a psychological perspective, I think it's important to understand what is really going on here. Very often, this third party entry happens when there's already a vacancy there.
It's always like that?
Yes.
There is a void, and that's when the...
Absolutely. There is a void that we've not attended to.
It can be emotional, physical, situational, anything.
Yeah. And it's first is a void that's not even recognized that there's a void. You know, typical, I think you've seen this, you've seen Fortune 500 had this issue about trophy wives. I always say that when you're young, you want your wife in a particular way. As you grow older and you've evolved, your wife needs to evolve. Similarly, women, as they grow older, their interests change. They want their husbands to be in a particular way. So these voids come, and we don't even acknowledge that there's a void.
Yeah.
And every relationship, if it has to work, it has to be built every day. It doesn't come without building.
True, absolutely. People seeing this, if you have to differentiate to say that this much of limiting belief is okay, it is natural, at what point in time do people need to get medical help?
I think when a belief becomes rigid and it cannot make us function, then we really need to take help. For example, if you have let's look at a belief like you need to wake up at 6 a.m. every morning. That is a belief, and that is how I came from my family. My parents taught me that, their parents taught them that, and that's our belief. That morning 6 a.m. is rising. And then you get into a job that where you're doing more than 12, 14 hours. Let's look at today's current, some of the jobs. People come home at 12, 1 in the night.
They can't wake up at 6.
They can't wake up. But because I believe that's important, I continue to wake up. After some time, I lack sleep. I start becoming dysfunctional. So then it becomes a limiting belief. The limiting belief has led to dysfunctionality, which leads to some form of mental difficulties.
Ill health, yeah.
And then I'm there in the hospital.
And adaptation will help a lot in overcoming that?
It's more than adaptation. It is to understand that I still continue to believe at 6 a.m. if I'm in a role that allows that. But if I'm not, then I need to adapt.
Yeah. Anna, to wind up the self-belief topic, if you have to give 2 or 3 tips to people seeing this, for them to kind of believe in themselves, at the same time overcome the shallow beliefs that they've continued to do and help them to get out of it, what would you like to say?
I think one is to understand that whenever we feel very strongly and therefore rigid about something, it's a time to examine. Rigidity is extremely unhealthy for us. We need a certain amount of elasticity in managing our lives. The second thing that I think is important is that we need to examine ourselves if some of our beliefs really lead to having prejudices, because prejudices are harmful. And the third thing that I would say is that to understand beliefs and understand which are negotiable beliefs and non-negotiable beliefs.
So that clarity needs to be there in the mind.
Yeah.
We are living in a very different world. We need to adapt every day. We need to understand what is right, what is not, what is supposed to be believed, what is not. At the same time, not get rigid is what Anna says. I think it's very important point that she brought out, that ask yourself what are the negotiable beliefs and what are the non-negotiable beliefs within yourself, and you'll find the answer. There's nothing wrong in talking about your mental health. We are promoting mental health here, and you're watching Mind Check Conversations with Anna Chandy. We're going to be back with a very interesting topic again. See you soon.